Hey everybody, this is Patrick Adams and I am here with Ken Kooistra. He is actually our first interviewee in our new office, our new video podcast area, so I'm excited for this opportunity to interview him. And Ken has actually been working with us for a little while now, and he is a business owner. You started actually multiple companies and is now an EOS consultant and coach. And has been doing this for a little while now. But for those that are listening or watching, can you tell us, Ken, what exactly is EOS?
So EOS is really the Entrepreneurial Operating System, and it was created by Gino Wickman. He's a lifetime entrepreneur, and when he ran into issues in his businesses, he just continued to work on it and ended up really writing the book Traction.
Okay.
Everything that I work on and teach is from that book and from the EOS Entrepreneurial Operating System.
Yeah, and I read Traction last year, I think. When did you first get introduced to EOS, or tell us the story about that.
So I actually was meeting with a friend of mine over lunch, and he explained to me how he was running his business on EOS, and I had at that time never heard of it. And I always wondered, because he always did such a really masterful job of running his company, and always seemed to have extra time as well. So I just found out about it. He gave me the book Traction that day, and when I read it, it really set me back in my seat. I wondered, where was this book 20 years ago?
Sure.
So when I read the book, I just thought, I was so excited about it. I just wanted to be part of that system. And now I'm really doing what I love most, and that is working on companies with business owners. It really is what I think I'm cut out best to do. You know, it's really a lot of fun.
That's a good story to hear about the beginning of how you were actually introduced to EOS. So I learned about EOS through actually a client of ours, and I'm excited because Ken is actually going to be our coach at PA Consulting to implement EOS within our organization. So we'll try to maybe do some videos, you know, along the way, and let our all of our network kind of know the story and how the background and how we're actually implementing it, and maybe some learnings along the way. So we're excited about that. But for those that are listening or watching that maybe are hearing about EOS for the first time and they're thinking to themselves, you know, how does this affect me? Or, you know, what could this do for my business? Or why would I even think about EOS for my business? What would you tell someone like that?
So most companies that are interested in EOS are companies that are really going through things like being stuck. They're overwhelmed, frustrated. The business is running them. And normally they scratch their head and they wonder, how are we ever going to get through this ceiling that we've hit? And basically, that's what happens, and what we do is we work through a set of leadership abilities. There's 5 leadership abilities. That's the first thing we do when we work with our clients. And really, it's kind of a good thing that they hit these ceilings, because most companies do hit the ceiling, and we just train them how to work themselves through that ceiling. And once again, they'll work through a ceiling, and then they'll hit another ceiling, but that's
sure.
really the growth of a company.
Right. That's a normal thing for companies that are growing and you know, developing their people and just especially in today's world. I mean, you know, there's got to be places for every business owner that's listening to this, or even an executive leader that you know, within a business that sees that kind of like, okay, we've hit this point where it's like we've done everything we feel like we can, but we know we need to go further. Our competitors are still improving, you know. So what do we do? And so a good approach would be for them to maybe look into EOS as an option to help them just get past that ceiling and continue to grow and develop their company.
Yeah. So when we teach the 5 leadership abilities, those are your ability to simplify, your ability to delegate and elevate, your ability to predict, and then your ability to systemize, and then your ability to structure your business.
Okay.
5 leadership abilities that we teach, and that's the first thing you learn on an EOS journey.
Gotcha. Okay, so let's actually dive into those, because I think this would be a good opportunity for those listening to be able to learn maybe just from a high-level standpoint, you know, those 5 leadership abilities and how they could maybe implement them into their business even starting today. So number 1, you said, was your ability to simplify. So can you tell us what that means exactly?
Sure. So as your entity grows, so does the amount of information and details, and it gets more complex as you grow, and more chaotic as well. So you really just have to dumb it down. You really just need to simplify it. and just simplify the messages, the processes, the structure, and the communication. And just really ask yourself, is it as simple as I possibly could make it?
I love to use the term keep it simple. And, you know, in a lot of businesses that I go into, I do see that where it's like, it seems like business leaders just feel like they have to create this level of complexity that isn't needed, or maybe they're not doing it intentionally, but over time in building a business with all the different, you know, when you're dealing with people and you're dealing with all the different aspects of business, you know, complexity just grows and builds, and things just seem to get a lot more complex than they have to be. And that's where, you know, for me, it's like, we got to bring it back to the basics here. We just got to, you know, keep it simple, right?
Yep. Keep it simple. That's a thing you're going to hear a lot if you're implementing EOS, is just keep it simple.
Right. I love it. So the second one is your ability to delegate and elevate. So from a leadership standpoint, how would someone, you know, take this one and run with it?
Well, so we call it delegate and elevate to your true skill set, and then the true growth is just really a series of delegating and elevating. So if you only have 100% of your time and it takes you 120% of your time to get your job done well, you'll have to delegate that 20%. So you really need good people to delegate to, and we call those right people in the right seats. They have to get it, they have to want it, and they have to have the capacity to do it. We call that GWC. And if they don't get it, they don't want it, well, then you don't have anybody to delegate to. So we really work with the leadership team to make sure that they have right people in the right seats.
That makes sense. And that actually came from Jim Collins, right?
Exactly right. That's exactly where it came from.
So what would you say to someone that maybe knows that they don't have the right people in the right seats?
So a right person is a person who shares your core values. They really fit your culture like a glove.
Right.
That person is the person we want, we love, we just want to have those around us. But we also have to have people that are in the right seats, people that can just do their job the right and best way every time. So you really need both, right people, right seats.
So if let's just imagine that I have the right people in the right seats. How do I determine, you know, when I need to delegate something versus, you know, just taking it on myself?
So typically it's, once again, when your plate is full and you have people that have the skills and ability to do some of what you're doing now in order to grow your business, you're going to need to move those things off your plate onto their plate.
Sure.
And basically put the monkey on their shoulders. They need to be able to help you grow your company. In order to do that, you'll just need additional people that can do their job well.
Yeah, and not only do their job well, but that you can trust or that they've been trained. And I think that's something that, too, that, you know, those of us who are business leaders need to think about. You know, if we don't have someone that we can delegate certain tasks to, or we maybe have a certain area that we see a gap in where maybe we're the only ones that can do that particular task, we may want to think about, you know, getting someone trained up and to a level where you can trust them to be able to delegate, you know, because there's always a time where as leaders we get overwhelmed, and it's like, if I can, you know, if I have someone that can take this task and someone that can take this task, but if I know right now, if I'm taking inventory, you know, I'm just thinking personally right now, I think there are a couple of things that
my team probably isn't trained to do. So I need to think about, you know, making sure that I hand some of those off, or make sure that they're trained up to handle some of those tasks as well.
Sure. So if you have 10 or 20 seats in your company and you have somebody who isn't really the right person for the right job, then you may want to move that person to a different area.
Sure.
However, if you can't find a space, we can't just keep people around because we love them. We are a for-profit company. We need to move those people off. We need to make a change.
Sure.
Yeah.
So before we would separate with someone, or maybe move them out from our company or our department, what would you suggest would be, you know, are there certain things that we should be doing to, you know, train them up, or look for opportunities, you know, if they are the right person, but we just don't have the right seat, you know, what do we do with someone like that?
So while we're using EOS to train up our people and to really get our company moving forward in the right direction, with our people, we use a tool called the People Analyzer. And with that People Analyzer, it helps us know, you know, as a company owner, but also the people themselves. They see how they're doing, if they're doing well, if they're hitting their mark, if they're not.
Are they actually somebody that should be working in this particular job or not? And if they're not, then we help them move to a different place in the company. And sometimes they just need to learn something. If that person GWCs their job, they get it and they want it means they just jump out of bed every morning just with energy. They really are raring to get after work. And the capacity means, do they understand how to do the work? If they don't, can you train them to get more capacity? Sure you can, if they want it.
Right.
So
that makes sense.
they definitely need to have all three, G, W, and C.
Okay, perfect. So the next one, number 3, is the ability to predict. So can you tell us a little bit about that? What does it mean to predict?
So you really have to be good at both long-term planning and short-term predicting. So long-term predicting is just your ability to plan 90 days. We really set that 90-day world for the organization. And then short-term predicting is just really able to solve your issues on a weekly basis. And we train you how to run great meetings, how to get rid of your issues. Really, we have something we call IDS, and it's really identify, discuss, and solve your issues. Really just knock your issues down one at a time, making them go away for the greater good of your organization.
Yeah, and that's really your what I would call your structured problem solving, where you're really driving the root cause. You're getting rid of those issues so you never have to look at them again.
Exactly right.
Love it. Perfect. So, and that would be the third one, which was your ability to predict. So the fourth of the 5 leadership abilities is the ability to systemize the organization or the leadership. So what does that mean, systemize?
Systemize just means to document, simplify, and get everyone following the 6 to 10 core processes that make up your company and your way of doing business, so to speak, and really document the 20% that gets you really 80% of the way. We have a rule called the 20-80 rule, and really we just document 20% of the process to get you 80% of the way there. So we just simplify all your processes, taking out all the redundant steps and the unnecessary steps, and just really get that system followed by everyone in the company. So when everyone in the company knows how to do it, every process, anyone who touches the process knows how to do it the right and best way every time.
Very nice. So is there an example of maybe a process or something within a company maybe that you've worked with, or maybe even your own company, where you have had to systemize that particular process?
So every company has a handful of core processes. From accounting, you may have HR, you might have your sales process, your marketing process, your customer service process, any processes within your company. If you just document that to its really to get it down, simplify it. We have a tool that we use called the 3-step process documenter.
Okay.
And when we teach that tool, it teaches you how to take these monstrous processes that you've documented before and just bring them down to the 20%, so that anyone who ever touches that process can read through a simple documentation. This is how I do it to get it done the best and right way every time.
Right, and that really helps create the stability, in the manufacturing world. We're developing standard work, and this would be something that maybe would be on the administrative side, but would be very similar in that way, and really helping to stabilize that particular process or operation.
Yeah.
Perfect. So the fifth one that you have that you guys teach is the ability to structure. The ability to structure. So this is the last of the 5 leadership abilities. Can you walk us through what it means to structure your leadership or your organization?
So when we talk about structure, we take a big step back in the organization, and we really always say is that you cannot be in a system and understand the system that you're in.
Okay.
So you really have to stand back from, you got to take that 30,000 foot level viewpoint, and then once you've taken that step back, you've got to decide what's the right and best structure for this organization, and really bring it to that next level. You got to forget about the people, the personalities, and the egos, and we use something called the accountability chart, and we use that to determine the right structure for your organization, and as a result, you'll identify the available seats and determine who's accountable for what in your organization.
Okay.
And that process really helps you get right people in the right seats.
Sure. Now, in my experience with some companies that I can think of, just off the top of my head, I see if we were to do something like that, I would see maybe 2 or 3 people in one accountability bucket. Is that something that you see often? And what would you say for those that say, well, we have a team of people that are accountable for this area?
Yeah. So the rule of thumb is this: if more than one person is accountable, no one's accountable. Mm-hmm. So the reality and the truth is that there's only one person in each seat. So if you want to call it a square on your accountability chart, there's only one person in one box. However, you can have more boxes for each person, so somebody can
Sure.
be in more than one accountability box, but it's one person per box.
So while there might be maybe one person that's accountable or answering to that, are they the ones that are responsible to do all of the work themselves?
So if a person has direct reports, those people then obviously report to them, but ultimately that person whose name is on the accountability chart mm-hmm. in that particular box, responsible and accountable for that, they are ultimately accountable.
Okay. And so that really ties us back to the ability to delegate and elevate then, right? The number 2 leadership ability.
Right, and that's why we need to GWC. We need to make sure that those people get it and they want it and they have the capacity to do their jobs well. And that makes a person that I can then delegate something to. If I don't have that person, it's quite obvious I'll be doing the work instead of them.
Right, exactly. And I think that's what probably a lot of leaders out there, leaders that are listening to this or watching this, probably feel like maybe a little bit overwhelmed, or they got a lot on their plates, maybe because they aren't or they don't have that delegate and elevate ability maybe down pat, right? They need to do a little bit of work in that area.
Yeah, it has everything to do with trust. Once you see you have an employee or a direct report who does GWC the position, you'll be able to trust him. Once you trust him, you'll be able to delegate that job to them, and they'll be able to do it well.
Sure, that makes sense. What would you say to, I just think about this in my own personal experience. I had a company where there was an individual that was a little bit hesitant to delegate and elevate because they felt like maybe that person might end up taking over their job, or leadership might see them at a higher level, and so they were a little scared about handing over responsibilities to someone. What would you say to someone like that maybe is feeling that way?
Sure, and that's very, very common where people don't want to let go. They want to keep everything on their own plate, and that has everything to do with trust. But it's also a fear for some employees that they fear, well, if I'm not going to be able to do that, then what will I be able to do? Mm-hmm. And once you understand that to delegate and elevate, when we say elevate, you might wonder, well, who's being elevated? Well, actually, both people are being elevated. Mm-hmm. So the person you delegate to is being elevated to that new position, and you are also being elevated.
So this has been a really great opportunity for me to learn, these 5 leadership abilities, and again get more of a kind of a high level view of EOS, and just to kind of close, I guess for those that are listening or watching, what would you say to them if they're thinking, hey, I want to learn a little bit more about EOS, or I want to know if EOS is something that I should consider for my organization? What would you say to someone?
So the best way to start is just read the traction book, and you'll get a really good feeling about EOS and what it's all about.
Okay.
And as you can see in front of you here, it's about vision, people, data, issues, process, and the traction components, the 6 key components that make up the EOS model. And if you read the traction book and you're intrigued by that, you can reach out to any EOS implementer. They're more than willing to help you.
Yeah, and we actually sat down with you, Ken, a couple days ago. Our leadership team did, and did a 90-minute overview of EOS just to hear just from you and your experiences and your perspective. We actually walked through each of the different areas of EOS, and that was really helpful for me to be able to see not only the overall benefits that EOS can have to an organization, but also it was helpful for me to be able to see some of the connections, between some of the lean stuff that we do and EOS. So just from a strategic planning standpoint, I just love the the way that EOS has structured, long-term goal planning, the ability to connect not only from a long-term goal to a maybe a 1 year and then all the way down to 90 days, and you're getting into the more of the tactical stuff. So there's a really great connection to some of the stuff that we do. But I just love the structure.
So EOS, like you said, is all about the structuring from a weekly meeting, an L10 meeting, to the 90-day world that we create by setting 90-day rocks. And then you have your 1-year plan and your 3-year plans and your 10-year target that you work with. So the ability to set a beautiful plan for your company is just amazing.
Yeah, and it's all aligned, which is great. So, someone that is, maybe a frontline worker, or someone that's, doing their work, their value add work, they know how that work is actually connected all the way up to the long-term plan or the vision for the company. And I just love the way that the structure that you guys have put around that to really align that. So I just want to say thank you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the opportunity to learn a little bit about EOS. For you personally, you're in the West Michigan area, but I think you're open to work, anywhere, right?
Yeah, I've been traveling actually to several different states, working with clients. So I'm open to doing that, but mostly I have been working with clients here in the Grand Rapids, Michigan area.
Okay.
Yeah, really happy, and it's my pleasure to be with you today. It's just,
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Ken, how would someone find you though? What should they look for you on LinkedIn? Do you have
LinkedIn, or they can just contact me through my website, GeorgetownInnovations.com.
Okay.
And that's or they can even go through EOS Worldwide. There's many ways that they can connect with us.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.